Eggman. Who wins? Who's gonna win? Then I live in a board beyond the genius of hearts. Not the mysteries of life. I am the Eggman. I am the Eggman. With a master plan. I'm the man. I am the Eggman. Master plan. It seems wherever I go, in every way, I love to destroy the blueberry, is obstacle that always gets my way. I will stand by my rules. I will conquer the world with my tools. Machines are made for destruction. I will build my empire. See, with my machines, there is no retreat. I'm the Eggman. That's what I am. I am the Eggman. Master plan. I am the Eggman. I'm the Eggman. Master plan. Well, everybody, that was my intro. If you could hear the music, hopefully you could hear the music. Basically, Sonic Adventure 2, Eggman Theme, Eggman. Yes, Eggman's Sonic Adventure 2 theme, not the Shadow the Hedgehog, 2005 Dr. Robotnik's mix. Not that one, the original one from Sonic Adventure 2, Eggman Theme. And why Eggman Theme? Because, oh boy, 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 oh boy. Have I been wanting to find an outlet to do something Dr. Eggman related? Or as his classic self would rather state it, Dr. Robotnik. Yes. Seeing as I already have plenty of Naruto related stuff and plenty of Izuku, MHA related stuff. However, I've only really ever done one Boruto What If, and even though Boruto is kind of in the same vein as Naruto, whenever it comes to that, but it's still its own thing in a way, so technically I'm kind of doing something else, but kind of not doing it's complicated. So basically, seeing as the only other Boruto related thing I've basically done was the symbiote one, the toxin symbiote. What if Boruto had the toxin symbiote? This will be my second Boruto related what if. What if Boruto was Dr. Eggman? And you guys may be nodding your heads just how and why, and may I remind you, I'm the one who basically had Izuku as Dementio and Naruto as Fawful. May I remind you, I have that on the channel. And, well, so technically you guys really shouldn't be expecting anything less or more from me. Though if you are expecting more, I would feel flattered. But then again, like it's been said before, flattery will get you nowhere. Basically, you guys might be wondering how exactly is this going to work. I mean, Eggman's like all futuristic and shit, like all of the robot, like a Badniks and like Metal Sonic and like all of his different like contraptions, like the Death Egg robot, Big Arms, the Egg Dragoon, freaking Egg Wyvern, all that crazy shit. And even his kind of like egg walker thing with like basically that in Sonic Adventure 2. So yeah, you guys might be wondering how the hell is that ever going to happen. I wasn't very specific whenever I said Eggman, so you guys just gonna have to know about the rules as we go along. Basically, I'm gonna make a story out of this shit, a big story. You know, I don't do scripts. I don't do scripted what ifs, so yeah, I kind of go along with you guys. Because, it's not scripted, so basically, I'm just making it up as I go along. That is, unless I have, like, it stored, like, a memory in my head. Or several memories in my head. But if it's not that, it's probably just going to be me making, stuff up on the fly. I felt good. Well, I guess what we could do is basically have everything after all of the Ishiki, Boroshiki, like whatever the hell the name of the other kid was, Shiki, after the end of all that shit. Basically after the end of all the main events of Boruto, all that happens, basically, there'll be a time of peace, as there usually is in these stories. After a certain bad guy or bad guys are defeated, there's usually a time of peace before the next baddie. And during this time of peace, basically, Boruto would be kind of around the same age that Naruto was whenever he was fighting Pain. 16, basically. 16, 17, somewhere around that. That's how old Boruto would be. Basically, it'd be one of the, days, like, after, the defeat of everything and all that. Boruto, kind of after everything that happened, Boruto wouldn't exactly be feeling all that happy about what happened, the whole Boroshiki deal, how that kind of like screwed him over. And how this big special eye that he had was actually just a plot created, for like something big in the future. Like he just kind of got like screwed over. Basically, what happened to Madara, except for the fact that he's not dead. But hey, you deal with what you deal with, and when you deal with it. So basically, Boruto would kind of be, frustrated, you know, Boruto would just be thinking how easy it was for him to just get like conquered like that, just like Boroshiki deal. And what was the name of the kid? Kawaki? I think it was Kawaki. Basically, I'm gonna say that in this, Kawaki ended up dying. So in this, Boruto's gonna have some incentive of some sort because of the death of Kawaki, because I'm gonna say in this, Kawaki ended up dying. If he did end up dying in like the original anime, good for me, I guess. But if he didn't, I guess that's something I just change to where he did end up dying. And basically Boruto feeling, kind of, super depressed over the fact that Kawaki basically died for freaking what could be considered nothing, except for a fruitless sacrifice of like jack shit and nothing, like literally just pointless. Like he did all that sacrificial shit all for nothing. And well, now Boruto is just the only one out of that twosome of, the it's almost like a Shiki twosome. He's the only one left out of the two of them. And well, that just makes Boruto feel like basically what you could consider like survivor's guilt. Yeah, basically a heavy case of survivor's guilt for Boruto. And so he feels like he needs to find a way to ensure that he can become dominant over any threat that would come his way. And so basically, you know, basically Naruto's just like, Boruto's just like, what could he do that could ensure that he would never have to go through all this survivor's guilt BS ever again? That he would never have to mourn anyone ever again. Like how he's mourning Kawaki because of the fact that he lived and Kawaki ended up dying. And all for nothing. Except for just to let Boruto live. And that's whenever he would remember something. It would remember one of the stories that Naruto would have told him and Hinawari whenever they were younger. Just barely able to understand human talk. Basically, this will be a story of the first ever person to unlock chakra, Kage Otsutsuki, and her children Hagoromo and Hamura Otsutsuki. And how Hagoromo was basically known as the Sage of Six Paths, and Hamura was basically sealed in the moon. And this little remembrance of this certain story, basically all the way through it, sparked an idea in Boruto's head. he gets the idea. Seeing as there are certain nature transformations and advanced nature transformations being stuff like wind, and advanced nature transformations being stuff like lava release, maybe there's a possibility that Boruto could create such an advanced nature transformation that would just be the manipulation of chakra itself to the point to where it could be like its own type of nature transformation. Just being able to curve chakra to your will beyond that of what is normally like humanly comprehensible. Like basically being able to be comprehended, like normal human comprehension, like something like that. I can't freaking words today. Basically being able to just curve it around like freaking Play-Doh. But, to where Play-Doh actually takes effort to curve, like, he'd be able to basically keep on practicing doing this until the ability to curve regular freaking pure-ass chakra, just like the chakra that possibly could have been within the original chakra fruit from the Jubi, he'd be able to curve with literal, like, second nature to him. All the way. Like, everything to do with chakra, he'd just be able to curve all the way as if it was second nature, because it would be second nature. To the point to where he could, well, do certain things, basically, certain very special things. Basically, the first test that Boruto would really do, whenever he finally got the handle of a certain... I guess Boruto would indeed give this ability a name. He would call it curve release, because he'd be able to curve chakra. And so he would call it curve release. And basically, why would he want to just be able to curve chakra in its most purest form, like the closest thing to the chakra fruit of the Jubi? Why would he want to do that? Well, basically, as Boruto would be thinking in his mind, if he's able to do this, then maybe he would have a force stronger than any force of any shinobi village. Basically, any force stronger than any of the shinobi villages, shinobi forces. The force that he would create would be stronger than any of the shinobi forces of any of the villages of shinobi combined. And even if, like, you added the lesser villages as well, not just the 5 villages of, like the 5 countries of the elemental continent, but also the lesser villages as well. Like this special force that he'd be able to command to his will through curving his chakra to that specific force or forces would be several times stronger than that of the forces of shinobi with their own chakra. It would be several times stronger than any of them combined. And, well, basically, what Boruto would try to basically do is he would think of, like, creatures of nature, but, he wouldn't want to mess with certain creatures because he would feel like that would be, like, cruelty to that of, like, nature, and, he wouldn't want to do that, so instead he would basically think of certain supplies that, if curved in a certain way using this curve release, his special chakra curving ability with curve release, and he would use the different parts that he would have picked up and basically use curve release to form them into a being. And while he wouldn't really, certainly be cruel to any animals that he would find, he would indeed note that certain animals had different, types of chakra or, types of chakra or amounts of chakra that would, Boruto would begin to get a feeling that maybe these animals could help him. And not necessarily enslaving them, but more or less using his chakra to vent out and, assign them to these certain parts. In other words, basically guiding them towards the certain thing and basically allowing them inside that certain thing. Thus, voila, badnik. Yes. Instead of subjugating these animals, using basically like a vented out wave of curve release through like all of nature, he'd be able to find the correct animals and even be able to, convince them to, he'd basically be able to convince them to do so. And even that, like, if they could be destroyed, that they would be freed instead of dying within inside the badnik because of the way that the badniks are built. It wouldn't kill them, they would just be harmlessly released. After that had happened, if anyone strong enough were to appear to combat what he had in mind. And one of the first things he has in mind is something he calls the Moto Bug. However, seeing as, well, his father's reaction to most technology that's been developed over the years, that's in place of, ninjutsu. Yeah, the certain thing, basically, whenever he created the freaking thing, and, just saw with the Byakugan, like a whole thing. Basically, because of this, Boruto basically thinks to hide his little operation somewhere where he would feel that no one would go looking. And so, a good amount of the bases of Orochimaru that he basically abandoned whenever he defected from the Leaf. Basically, cleaning house by just getting rid of all that shit, unless it was something that could possibly pertain to certain interests or like future interests. Basically, cleaning house and basically using the former Orochimaru base as his own little base. And technically, most of his certain bases are based in, like, the country of rice fields. And so, basically, the country of rice fields was turned into Odoker, and a Sound Village, basically. And with that not really having all that much ground anymore, basically, Boruto, seeing as it's right off center from, most of the 5 elemental villages, yet not too far away. Yeah, Boruto does most of his hidden studies within the hidden labs underneath the base of Odotaker, or basically Hidden Sound Village. Right underneath the noses of not only the people of freaking Fire Country, but also underneath the noses of the people of Rice Fields Country themselves. and just make it back home, all without people even noticing that he was like gone all the way into rice fields country. And basically, what Boruto was doing here, like, if you guys want to know what Boruto is basically attempting here, basically, he calls them, well, seeing as how disapproving Boruto is of the whole machine deal, like, how he kind of just, like, slap on the wrist of Boruto's entire ninja career whenever he took away his headband after seeing the whole module on his arm. If you guys ever seen Naruto Boruto the movie, that whole scene, basically, Boruto would know that, his father would not approve of this at all. So, seeing as, Naruto was basically, by all the people in the Leaf Village and Land of Fire in general, and even the Fire Daimyo feels this way, getting to be a freaking amazing guy, he indeed decides to give these little creations of his the code name Badnik. And since there's multiple of them, basically Badniks, an army of Badniks. But there's more than one different kind of Badnik. Certain, especially, creative types of basically special types of badniks would be slicers and SWAT bots. Yes, slicers and SWAT bots. Slicers because they could cut you in like 1,000 pieces with one slice. And SWAT bots because they're stormtroopers but with better aim, basically. And, well, basically, that's not all, but certain creations, certain badniks, projects to create said certain badniks, some of them are kept more secret than others. Yet all of them are indeed kept within some sort of level of secrecy, to where only he would know about what was actually going on. But to the people of, Oto and Ricefields Country in general, and basically the Leaf Village and Fire Country in general, no one knows what the hell has been going on underneath both their noses. Because now Boruto has actually been able to branch out right underneath the freaking noses of the people of Fire Country, because there are certain bases of Orochimaru's that basically, they connect to the bases in Ricefields Country. Several of the Fire Country bases that Orochimaru had actually, in a way, connect back to the ones in Ricefields Country. And in being able to seal the deal, actually make them easier to access, but only really by him or anyone he would actually want to affiliate himself with in the future. Basically, allowing himself to access both. Yes, multiple Ricefield Country bases, and newly, or at least more recently, some of the Fire Country bases. And whenever I say some, I actually mean the majority of the Fire Country bases that Orochimaru had underneath, like basically underground. And considering that Orochimaru is on tight surveillance, so he can't really do any sort of work that he would used to do with his bases. Basically, no one would suspect that Boruto would have anything to do with any of the Fire Country bases that Orochimaru used to have. So it's like he's just easily able to do this, and no one would even know. However, Boruto doesn't finally realize something. That's kind of been, scratching on the back of his head, back of his brain hole. He can't just be going out, saying his, true identity. Not just because of the whole ninja thing, but because what this will probably mean for him in the future, or him at all. His entire operation / operations, and basically what he plans to do in the future. Now, after, everything that has happened in his life, basically what he basically feels like he's been living in a living hell. Like, he can't do anything to, basically do anything for anyone. Like, he's a complete and total failure. That's just how Boruto's been feeling for so damn long. That is until he basically got the idea of doing what he's been doing for quite some time. And basically, the the whole big thing with the interconnected, like, several different labs and, like, different things, like the multiple ones in Fire Country, like, basically below it, and the multiple ones below Rice Country, like Ricefield Country, and several others that Boruto's yet to, unleash his full potential on. His full potential and, doing what he's been doing with the others. And technically, there's a bridge connecting Nami no Kuni, also known as Wave Country. So he could just, basically disguise himself as someone no one would be able to, like, realize who they were, And basically, as soon as he would get to Wave Country, get to work finding a way to make some sort of underground base there. Find some way to do that. Since it's technically connected to Fire Country, you'd be able to do a lot with that. And so that is indeed one of the things that, is on, like, one of Boruto's many to-do lists. And he decides that he's thought of something. He's thought of considering, well, some of his more recent creations due to his messing around in Nami no Kuni. The creations of the egg robots and the egg pods, and even some more recent stuff like the creation, well, not necessarily the creation of anything else. Basically, egg robots and the egg pawns. I guess also you could say the creation of two special robots that are kind of like his right and left hand robots. It's like right and left hand, badniks. Are kind of just like the comic relief of the entire thing. These ones being called Orbot and Cubot. Basically, Boruto would think to himself, basically, he would think to have an empire, to have something of his own, to finally not feel so worthless, not feel so down in the glumps. Something that he could be proud of. It wouldn't matter if other people didn't like it, because he would be proud of himself. It would be something that he could show as his own little pride and joy. And there would be more than one thing which would signify that. Technically, the first few things would be a little something called the Egg Fleet. And basically, the biggest ship, which would be one of the most prideful things that Boruto could think of, that actually had just now finished, not only its construction, but an actual successful test run, proving that it does indeed work. The star, flagship of the, basically what Boruto, just out of random, name jargon, like flipping around with names, like random, like just spewing whatever he had on his mind at the time, decided to call this certain thing. He really didn't understand why he thought of it in his head, but he just said it out loud, like basically to himself. Well, Orbot and Cubot were there because, they're kind of right and left hand, like badniks, so they would always kind of be on his side, like by his side. And, he would basically just spew out like egg carrier. Yes, this big ass ship has like this big ass looking nose thing, which actually opens up to show like it's a big ass shoot-a-whoop laser cannon. Yeah, basically, during Boruto's time, he wouldn't be the only one working on this, Some of his badniks wouldn't be picking up the slack while they were kind of be kept, kept a secret. So, it would be easier, basically, to do this whole thing. And so, basically, blurting out the name Egg Carrier, or the Egg Carrier, and basically, seeing as, he didn't want to basically blurt out his actual real identity, so he would think he would need a little bit of a code name for himself. And so basically, he would just, think to himself what he would say to someone if, they were to ask him who he was. And he would just think to himself, oh, me? You can call me Dr. Ira Robotnik, but I might also be known as the Eggman. Just thinking about the name of his, master ship, of his egg fleet. It's called the Egg Fleet, and the master ship, like the biggest, badass ship, is called the Egg Carrier, so why not technically have two code names? Like Ivor Robotnik, that would be his fake alias, and the nickname for his fake alias would be the Eggman or Eggman. And technically, after doing so much work and basically doing so much perfecting on his curve release, there would be a little bit of a drip difference. Boruto's drip, considering, most of his drip would be considered the same, except for certain things. The additives of certain things, such as glasses. Basically, nothing really except to basically hide a little something that he got along the way while he was training his curve release. And that certain something being something that basically, seeing as he was training his curve release to be as pure as possible, he accidentally unlocked a certain hidden bloodline of a certain small percentage of the Uzumaki clan, considering that one of the Uzumaki clan was Nagato and he had the Renegon. And I'm just going to say that a small percentage of the Uzumaki clan can actually, have the Renegon. And so basically to hide the Renegon, basically some glasses would be added to Boruto's drip to basically conceal the Renegon so that no one would know. And basically, Boruto would have created something called the Eggmobile. And, the Eggmobile could basically, turn into, like, anything or, like, apply itself to anything. There would have, like, a teleport button and something could appear out of anywhere and it would just attach itself to it. Kind of like with the Death Egg robot. It would just attach itself there so he could, like, Eggman could control it. And that's kind of the same thing that goes with Boruto's version of the Eggmobile. And, well, basically anything else. Boruto would indeed have basically what would be considered, Eggman's, back in his Dr. Robotnik days, his yellow cape. He would have a yellow cape drip. Yes, he would have a yellow cape. And he would even have white gloves. And technically, the normal shinobi sandals which Boruto would wear would, instead of being blue, they would be black, and they would kind of have this, like, element of a high heel to where the part, which is, like, towards the back, would be elevated up to basically where Dr. Eggman's basically boots are elevated up. Yet they're technically also a little bit loose, so there is maneuverability. And technically the length is controlled by the curve release, so basically everything about his new drip is controlled by the curve release, making it so that if any of it made the maneuverability, any of the maneuverability of the curve release was jeopardized, it could just you know basically undo that. But also, another thing to note is that as time went on, Boruto would have realized a little something. That he would have, after so many hours of doing so much working on all the different projects, while he would have gotten some sleep, I wouldn't necessarily say he wouldn't have gotten some sort of grown-up stash of any sort. Yet, because of the chakra flowing through him, newly tampered with by the creation of the curve release, his stash would indeed let's just say his mustache would, well, it would still be blonde. If, it would be, to say it would be unnaturally long, well, you would be right. But not unnaturally wrong to the point to where it would mess, with Boruto, whenever he was fighting, because remember, curve release kind of helps that. Any problems that might be had because of the drip change and any, growth. And yes, whenever I say growth, I mean, basically, Boruto would indeed have gotten taller. And another thing, finally, I think the last thing that I'm going to do to give him any resemblance to Eggman / Dr. Robotnik is the fact that the majority of the time, just like Doflamingo in One Piece, he has a big-ass shit-eating grin. Because Dr. Robotnik, unless he's getting his ass kicked by Sonic, he always has that shit-eating grin. A big-ass shit-eating grin. And so basically, ow, shit. I guess you could say that Boruto feeling that, he would need to spice things up because things have gotten boring recently, and he wanted to test his old man and certain, people affiliated with him. A little new project he's been working on, and if, his old man is able to defeat this one, he might just get truly interested as to not just wipe them off the face of the map with the full power of the egg carrier. And so he decides, basically, Boruto just decides to stroll up to a certain area and basically be like, beep. And then there's like a door would open, and it would just something come out, being like, hello, doctor. And Orba and Cuba would be like, oh no. Uh, Doctor, not to question your methods, but, why are you sending that one out? And Boruto would just be like, Arbot, Cubot, why do you keep on calling this one that one? Or did I really, indeed, forget to tell you its name? Well, if that is indeed so, then be careful to listen, as I won't say it again. This one is Silver Sonic. Yes, that's right. Silver Sonic. And basically, Orto would be like, now, Orbot, Cubot, direct Silver Sonic to the docking bay to where he can be shipped off to Konoha, where he can indeed stir up the pot, I guess you could say. Or maybe, yes, change the destination from Konoha to Icefields country. But also with indeed note of warning. And Silver Sonic would just be like, a note of warning. And Boruto would just be like, yes. Well, you may be currently used to stir up the pot with Ricefields country. Or at least that is what they will perceive at first, but once you are finally done, I wish you to make it known to the Konoha beings of that place and all of Fire Country in general, even the daimyo himself, the Eggman Empire. That we are here to divide and conquer. With you as one of my elite badniks. And basically, Silver Sonic, having been giving his orders, basically would be like, Warbot, Cubot, and then basically they'd be like, oh yeah, taking you to the docking bay to be shipped off to rice fields. Basically, just change the place from Konoha to rice fields, demonstration. Yeah, basically that's what Boruto would essentially be doing. Though he would need stress to Orbot, Cubot, and even Silver Sonic to not damage Ricefield Country to the point to where the underground bases that were had there would be damaged in any way. And, well, like a good little obedient robot that he is, Silver Sonic obliges by basically, swearing to not do so, to not damage said environment, to only stir up a little something something with the people of Ricefields country, enough to gain the attention of those of Konoha and basically send them a message of basically the Eggman Empire is here and oh boy, they are ready to divide and conquer the shit out of these people. And you might be wondering how on Earth can nobody freaking spot the egg carrier or any of the egg fleet? Well, technically they're above the clouds. And if you guys are going to say anything about the Sky Village, like them possibly being able to see, well, technically, pretty much just shoop-de-whoop the Sky Village off the map. But not really doing that because that would arouse suspicion why the Sky Village was no longer there. So, instead of doing that, basically just running down badniks upon the Sky Village. No one really going up to check, because no one would really, know whether someone was there or not. As long as they didn't destroy the place, only really, ransack it with badniks to the point to where the Sky Village will, get it to, not, get in the way of the Eggman Empire. And basically the Sky Village will just get trashed. And that's basically why they wouldn't be able to do anything. Because they would have just been trashed. So, yeah, basically, as we close off this little chapter, basically Sasuke just popping up in Naruto's office, and Naruto's basically just like, whoa! It's like, Hinata would have been there as well, and she would have gotten like a little spook, like with a little eep, like, and Sasuke would be like, sorry about that, but I think a little bit of information you might want in on. And basically he would have just pointed in, out through the window, basically in the direction of Ricefields country. And Naruto basically would be like, Hinata, use your Byakugan, over there. And basically Hinata would have trained her Byakugan in that direction. And basically see, the demonstration, the little example that was basically made out of with Ricefields country. Also known as Otogakure. And basically, yeah, Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke would have kind of all gotten the message that there'd be some crazy ass freaking shit going on right about now. And with that, and part 1 of What If Boruto Was Eggman. Just direction of exility, whatever the fucking doses.